Yeah.
You're on.
I want to call to order the January 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Town of Tilton Budget Committee. And our first order of business is the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Neil has been working very hard to get us a lot of minutes ready. And so let's read these minutes and we'll take them one by one and approve. Okay.
We already processed some of these things? Haven't we already processed like the October minutes?
I thought we had.
You did.
And all the Octobers? We should have processed those.
There's, start with the November, which is November 13th.
I don't think she knew what had been processed because I don't believe they're posted on the website.
That's why she did them. They aren't posted.
Right.
So we'll
They
start
are.
with the November 13th.
I'll check.
Would Marina have been present at this meeting?
For the VNA?
Yes.
Marina
She
Sumner,
was.
Yeah.
Secretary?
These are on the website. 10/16, 11/13, 11/20, and 12/4,
Yeah, I thought we...
and 1/8.
Which ones are on?
I know we did the Waypoint and Schimberg. Those I know we did.
Yeah.
It's 10/6. Well, I mean it goes back before 10/16, but 10/16, 11/13, 11/20, and 12/4.
So they're all on the website?
Yep.
Yeah.
Except for
I
October.
think we've
Okay.
done all these.
All right, so we've got,
Marina's name should be added to these.
And
Yeah.
it should have been that we discussed the minutes, should be on here too. Right?
yeah,
Well, I
let's-
assume you made a motion to
Accept the minutes.
accept.
So,
But none of these have been.
for November,
so the one we have to do is December 4th.
That's up there too.
It is?
Yeah, January 8th I think would be your.
Well, what?
minutes for,
So all these minutes need to be amended to include Marina's name and to say that we voted on the other minutes, correct?
I'm not sure Marina did them all.
no, but she was here for the
She was
15th.
here though.
Oh, I see.
Her last night was the 18th.
But Joanna described them, I think.
Pardon?
I think Joanna had actually recorded or had done the minutes from the tape on some of those.
But Marina was still here.
Right,
Johanna was just helping her transcribe minutes
Yeah.
to get her caught up.
right.
So
Okay.
Marina doesn't show an attendance in any of these.
Oh, I see.
And
She does for the
should.
9th of October and the 16th, but not for November 13th.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Yes, but she was here all November.
Yeah,
It also doesn't show, were you here at all the meetings?
all but
Everyone?
one.
It doesn't show, yeah, so
Was who here?
Tim.
Well, we don't show that.
We're not important.
Okay,
Kidding.
You don't count.
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
All right. That was easy. I like that. Let's do that again.
Say that we discussed the minutes and.
Well, that's what I wrote down. That
Yeah.
all should show approved minutes, and
And it
Marina
should be
should
on
be
the
included
tapes.
if we're not.
It should be on the tapes if.
Yes. All right. So the next order of business are our warrant articles. Has anybody had a chance to look at these? The one that is not here is the police, because they're in negotiations right now. So let's read these aloud. And we'll start with Article 2. No, we start with Article 3. Bill, would you like to read that one?
Sure. Let me know if I missed something. Things are blurry right now. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,716,518 for the purpose of building a new police station in Tilton. $4,716,518 of such sum to be raised through the issuance of bonds or notes under and in compliance with the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33:1, ETSEQ, as amended, to authorize the selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aid, and accept any donations towards this purpose, if any, which may be available for said project, and to comply with all laws applicable to said project. To authorize the selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, and deliver said bonds and notes, to determine the rate of interest thereon, and the maturity and other terms thereof, and further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $37,212 for the 2020 payment of interest, and to authorize the selectmen to take any other action or to pass any other vote relative thereto.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept this amendment.
You mean article?
I mean article. No, it's an amendment. Isn't it? Article.
This is Article 3.
Yeah.
Warrant article.
Warrant Article 3.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'd like to mention the fact that it talks about donations or whatever, and there's one business in town that has stepped up and said that they will work on getting donations.
That's awesome.
Any other discussion? Kathy?
Well, we had
Yeah.
a great presentation by Kevin the other night, which,
Doesn't he do a good job?
yeah.
Yes, it does.
I mean, that, just the bond being so low at this point, it helps the feasibility of it.
Yes.
Um,
And then they have cut a lot out of it. I was very impressed with the fact that they have made some
lot.
changes. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of recommending this, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I will decline to vote.
Okay.
The article is recommended by the budget committee
Yes.
and the selectmen.
Article 4, Ken, would you like to read that?
To see if the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500,000 for the construction of a sewer line extending the municipal sewer system down West Main Street and on Clark Road approximately 2,300 feet. And further to authorize the issuance of not more than $2,500,000 in bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act. I wonder if the F should be capitalized. Do you see that, Tim? Number
Well-
4,
I'll point that out to Jeannie.
M is capitalized, A is, but F isn't.
Yep.
RSA 33:1 has amended to authorize the selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, and deliver said bonds and notes, and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and the maturity and other terms thereof. To authorize the selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, or other aid, and accept any donations towards this purpose, if any, which may be available for said project to comply with all laws applicable to said project, and to authorize the selectmen to take any other action or pass any other vote relative thereto.
I'll move we accept Article 4.
Is there a second
Second?
discussion?
My only question is, this is gonna be on the town, or is this coming out of that pass-through budget?
Isn't this a pass-through item? I mean,
I think
it'll
it's
be
coming
paid
out
by
of-
fees.
I think it's coming out of the taxpayers. Is that correct, Ken?
Yes, these projects are paid for by tax dollars.
How many people are gonna be tied in with that sewer line, if you don't mind me asking? Like, how far does it go, and how many people are gonna be?
It starts a little bit past the high school and extends down to just before Clark Road where the sewer ends, and then it goes up Clark Road. I think just above that hill at the top.
So all the businesses on Route 3 will have to connect, correct?
Yes, well, we've looked at that, and there are, as far as we can tell, there are no new septic systems in there, so they would be required to connect.
They would be required, I mean, like the funeral home would be required?
They don't have a new septic system, so I believe so, yes.
So when all the new people are on the septic, paying the fees to the septic, does any of that go back to this money?
No. The fees go to maintain the systems.
Is this spread over all taxpayers, whether they
Yes.
have, okay?
So
See,
like
I'm-
someone like me who will never have sewer will be paying for
And
this.
someone like me. I'm against it for 3 reasons. I'm against it because of that, because it's spread over everybody in the town, whether they have a sewer or not. I'm against it because I think it's the other side of Main Street that's going to expand, not this side. There are not that many opportunities for more businesses. And I'm against it because if people have a working and reliable septic system, like I know the funeral home does, I don't think they should be required to hook up. That's my opinion, so I would not recommend it. Any
But
other?
the town meeting voted, the people voted that it be paid for by taxation, these projects.
I know, but I don't agree with that.
Okay?
So
That's my opinion.
was there a hearing on this?
Yeah, the public hearing is tomorrow night?
Next week.
Next week.
What day?
believe it's, is it during the selectmen's meeting?
5 o'clock.
Is that right?
I didn't hear what,
The public hearing.
yeah, what day?
I can tell you which day. Give me a minute.
I can't hear.
It is next week, it's not on the agenda for this week.
The sewer commission didn't come and talk to us about this, right?
January 30th at 5 PM.
January.
January 30th?
Yeah. Is she here? Or-
30th at 5 p.m.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Ted. I'm
Got it.
sorry. I'm deaf on this side, not this side.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Well, did the sewer commission didn't talk to us about this, right?
No, it's not part of the
So we
budget.
really didn't get much of a lowdown on what's going on.
I guess my biggest concern is, how much more is it gonna affect the tax rate for the taxpayers? If they were to pass for the police department and the sewer. at the same time.
Right,
That's my biggest
that's an
concern.
issue, yes.
But isn't it
Since
up to
we-
town meeting to decide?
Yes, it is, but we have to recommend or not recommend.
I can't make a recommendation because I don't know enough about it personally. I made the motion just to get it on the floor, but I would like to know more about it.
Would you like to table this until after the public hearing on it?
Can we do that?
Sure,
Sure.
of course we can.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sure.
We'll have some kind of minutes
You
on
mean
that.
the 1:30
If we don't-
meeting?
If we don't
Public
make it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought we were skipping a meeting, so now we can't skip that meeting. Right?
Well, we can.
You know, we can, I'm not going to, I'm gonna come to it, but you can.
No, I mean our next budget when we,
Well, we can vote on this, whether we recommend or don't recommend at our next budget meeting.
Okay.
which
The,
is
the public
the
hearing,
5th.
the 5th of February, yeah.
Okay, okay.
4th of February.
So
Alright.
is there a motion to table this, or, oh, first the other motion was on, right?
We have a
We have
motion
made
She's
motion,
right.
right?
and a seconded, we have,
Yeah.
You were seconded, so,
Just withdraw your motion,
So,
I'll
well-
withdraw my second.
okay, we can do that.
So,
I'll withdraw my second.
Sure.
okay.
all right. So moved.
And I make a motion to table this until after the public hearing, until after our next meeting on February 5th.
I'll second that.
All right.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
If there's any information you want, I'm sure Johanna would be happy to provide it.
I think she sent some emails, but I don't know if it was
Yeah,
on
she
this. Yeah, she was sending a bunch of emails for a while there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if any of them were on there.
Anything specific you want to know?
I mean, that's kind of a breakdown of
Yeah.
sewer commission.
Yeah. All right. Ted, would you like to read Article 5?
Article 5, to see if the town will vote to establish Tilton Senior Center Expendable Trust Fund per RSA 3119A for operations and maintenance of the building and vehicles associated with the senior center, and to raise and appropriate $5,000 to put in the fund, with this amount to come from taxation, further to name the selectmen as agents to expand from said fund.
All right, I make a motion to accept this. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Wasn't this a grant? Part of a grant?
No,
No.
This wasn't?
The grant is to get the vehicle.
that's right.
Oh,
However,
that's
if you-
right,
if
that's
you
okay.
remember
Yes.
The last
yes.
meeting, we
Okay.
discussed
Okay. yeah,
maintaining it,
Sure, yeah, okay,
so that's what this is for.
yeah, all right.
Any discussion? All in favor of recommending it, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Christine, you want to read Article 6?
Article 6, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost.
We
Yeah.
can't vote on 6.
Yeah, it's
We don't have any,
That's the union.
That's, we
It
don't
hasn't
have,
been
we don't have the
settled yet.
figures. And they'll be available Friday?
well, we're hoping we'll resolve this soon. It has to be resolved by the 4th, which is the day prior to your public hearing.
Okay, so we'll,
That one on the 5th.
We're hopeful that it'll be before that.
Want to do Article 7?
Was that vote on Article 5 unanimous?
Yes.
Okay.
Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to be added to the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget.
I'll second. Oh,
I'll
Move we accept.
And I second that. Any discussion?
What would, did they bring this up at the highway budget meeting? When
I
they
think
talked to
it's-
us?
I wasn't
I think
here.
it's lower. Isn't this lower than last year?
No,
It's every
it's actually higher. Last year we had an anomaly year where every year it's been 35,000, but last year it was 15 because the selectmen wanted to put more money into the road, streets, bridges, and we also had a lot of new equipment. Right now, there's a balance of just over $51,000, and the Public Works Director is planning to purchase, in 2021, at least the plan is to purchase a new sidewalk machine during that time. So, and there'll be enough money, depending upon, what's funded in 20 and 21 to do that.
So this is, this is typical
What we usually
every
do,
year,
For the-
that much
Yeah.
into
The last 10 years, with the exception of last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
I make a motion to accept this.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This is my turn. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $94,000 to be added to the town roads, bridges, and sidewalks capital reserve fund. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget.
There's a current balance of about $124,000 in there.
What did we put in last year?
94.
Has that been for the last number of years?
It's higher than it had been historically. About 4 years ago, we started adding money that had been budgeted in the operating budget for sidewalks because the sidewalks weren't getting done each year, maybe about 5 years ago. And then that money was added to $65,000, which was our typical amount that we put in the fund. So that brought it up to 74, and then I believe it was last year when we took the 35 down to 15, they took the 20 and put it additional to the 74 to make 94,000. But the fund is a little low right now. It's typically in the $200,000 range. And we're sitting at 124 because we had a number of projects this last year between Cedar Street, paving over at Winnisquam Bridge area, Old Route 3. There were a number of things. There was the finish
Main
of
Street.
that project,
Yeah.
Main Street, yeah.
Those are visible, and it's good for the town to see that
Yeah.
stuff is being
Right.
done.
And there's still more to be done. There's the top coat next year for Cedar. And then there's, I believe, work that's being discussed for Academy Street. And so there's a project schedule out there.
Okay,
All right, all in favor of recommending it?
Did we make a motion to accept it?
I don't think there was a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
I'll move we accept that.
And I
Second.
second it. Okay.
so, aye.
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 Bill, you want to do Article?
Article
Nine.
9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000 to be added to the revaluation capital reserve fund established in 2002. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget.
I'll
So-
make a motion to recommend this.
Second.
Discussion?
What is it?
I was just gonna ask it.
So
It's,
this is for the revaluation that we just went through. This is setting money aside each year so that at the end of 5 years, we have enough money to pay for which is the largest part of the contract with Avatar, pay for the revaluation.
just an off note, is reevaluations in towns required by state level? Or?
It is.
Okay.
And they do come in and audit, they audit sales, they audit the process.
Okay.
all that.
I thought it was in the budget.
So
We have a
they-
line item for that.
Right, so there's two components to it. One is the services that they provide monthly, including the data verification. So that's part of it that's paid monthly and is in our annual operating budget. But then all the services that go with the final revaluation portion are in the 5th year. And that is roughly a $72,000-$75,000 payment in the 5th year, or in the year that we do the reval. It can't be any longer than 5 years per the state statute.
Do we look at any other company other than Avatar, or do we just accept them and their rates?
This past year, I don't believe there was a competitive bid process with the 5-year contract. Some years the selectmen have gone with a 1-year with Avatar, considered going out to bid, but in the end, continued to partner with Avatar. And this past year in the fall, I believe, Selectman Dawson, the board opted to sign a 5-year agreement with Avatar.
Some of the board did.
Well, the majority of the board opted to,
The answer is no.
but there was
We've not
no,
solicited other bids.
there wasn't any other,
For quite a few years.
it wasn't a bid.
We haven't done it for 10 years.
Uh,
We haven't done it since we partnered with Avatar.
They
Yeah.
should. Dick mentioned
I-
one that was cheaper.
I don't understand. I thought there was a rule that anything over $500, the selectmen would go out.
It's,
Did.
it's 1,500 now, the selectmen had changed it,
Okay.
but it's up to the selectmen whether they wish to enforce that, and when
I don't
the,
understand that.
well, the town administrator had asked if they, what their pleasure was, and they opted to continue with Avatar.
Well, if it's required over 1,500 to get bids, then there should be bids getting done.
It's their requirement, the Board of Selectmen's requirement.
Oh.
So,
But I've been
They
here
can
when there've been
overrule their
major
own
arguments
requirements,
over
I guess.
well, they can,
$600
well,
items.
let me give you,
When it was $500.
let me give you an example. There's a couple of rationale why they do this, is because sometimes we have a particular working relationship with a vendor, or some compelling reason why it doesn't make sense to go out to bid. With Avatar, it usually comes down to the fact that they have to support our values, and but that's why, like with I'm trying to think. Some of the IT relationships, or some of the equipment that we have, that we continue to buy the same type of equipment because it's the same configuration, things of that sort. Sometimes we opt to single source for some of our uniform.
Auditors,
What's that?
are the auditors put up to bid?
We haven't done that. No.
Okay.
No, and so there's a good example too. We're a small staff, and I don't know a nice way to say overworked, but we're constantly working, and there's a certain amount of overhead, with changing auditors, and for the sewer commission, for my office, and for the town clerk tax collector's office, which we all integrate, not just us, but we're the three that integrate most heavily with the auditors during the audit process. We know what sort of form they expect. We've developed a lot of tools to be able to get things very quickly to them. So, it's one of those things, you want to make sure you're still in the ballpark, and they haven't increased their price in, I want to say maybe 8 years.
Yeah, and that's the difference, so
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's good.
Right.
And they were actually,
Doesn't make sense.
they were actually letting us go at one point, and we convinced them not to. So, that was right before I started.
Well, the other thing I would suggest is that the selectmen at least compare rates with other comparable towns.
And
So
who
that we're not,
monitors the
you know,
selectmen?
in the sense of the auditors, we know we're getting a good deal.
All
But,
of us,
That was a very
citizens.
good deal.
but, you know, we really should just make sure that we're in the right playing field.
All in all, I want to say the department heads try really hard, and I see the work that they go through with most things. There are a few here and there that probably slip through that we could probably do better on, but they're all very, very conscientious. And if they're not, I encourage them to be conscientious about saving money and finding, you know, less expensive ways of doing things. I mean, you know, another example of that is like with our software. You know, we're not going to change software year to year because, you know,
Right.
something else is cheaper because the conversion and the learning curve and all that is going to, you know, really have a high other cost, you know, so.
But we don't get the same product from Avatar that we used to.
Well, and that's true too, but that was the Board of Selectmen's decision.
There was,
They were,
The majority.
I think the board was aware of the changes to the contract. Is that correct, Selectman Dawson? Was the board aware of the changes to the contract?
I hope so.
So, but we do try. We all try to, you know, make sure.
Are the
that-
selectmen recommending this one?
Yes, and they do each year. We set money aside each year. If we don't, we're gonna have to budget in our operating budget for $71,000 or
Yeah.
$72,000 at the end of the 5 years because we've signed a contract with them for 5 years.
Regardless of what company
Yeah.
we would use in 5 years, we have to do an audit.
Yeah, and we, right, it might be less expensive with another company, but we would be in the same boat of putting money aside and this way it smooths out the pinch.
Is this the typical amount we've been doing?
No, actually, we had been putting in 20,000 a year for some time, and I advocated last year not to put any money in it. We didn't need to put money in it, but somehow I wasn't successful in convincing anybody that we didn't need to put money in it, and it was 5,000 last year. And so now I've recalculated, recalibrated it, so that if we put in this 6,000 this year, we can scale it in, and we'll have to add more in subsequent years.
9,000.
I'm sorry, 9,000, but, I'm looking at Article 10.
Yeah.
So, so that sounds more appropriate, that, but I've figured it out that, you know, what we need to add each year into that. But yeah, it's actually lower than what it's historically been.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Catherine, would you like to read Article 10, please?
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,000 to the Lake Improvement Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This appropriation is not included in the operating budget. This is the milfoil account.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll move we accept that.
And I second that. Discussion?
Has 6,000 been the norm?
No, it's typically been 3,000, and this last year, the balance had gotten up to about $9,100, $9,200, somewhere over 9,000. And the Conservation Commission, who are the agents for the fund, authorized 2 groups to be paid for milfoil mitigation.
Remember that.
And so that was about $5,100, so I think the ending balance is somewhere in the low $4,000 range. And so this will bring it back up to 10, and they're planning on the same kind of activity or more for 2020.
They finally have organizations that have a method
Mm-hmm.
they have great success with
Yeah,
of eliminating milfoil.
I think this is
I've been hearing-
I think this is
hearing that.
very important.
So they are, now they're really actively, before it's like they kept seemingly testing it in Christie's Cove.
Yeah,
Right.
But
he's
now
got
they're
this
moving
spot.
out and because it's working.
and it's a real
They're hoping to
serious
do-
issue.
Silver Lake is, I can tell you because I'm in there all the time, is almost choked.
Yeah.
And they're gonna move into Silver Lake.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
All right. Any more discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Can I ask who seconded that? I had Bill moved.
Jane.
Jane.
Jane. Thank you.
Ted? Article 11?
Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise
That
and appropriate.
doesn't take a,
Oh, we've, huh?
that doesn't take a yes or no approval.
Right.
Well-
Read though.
I'm good.
So I'll just point out to you, you have a copy. Last week you had asked for the budget figure
Yep.
that you had approved. Well, that's the number right there, $5,868,010. And on the document that you received tonight, the budget document, that's where you'll find that number on the third from the right column.
And that's the number we approved.
That's the number you approved, that's correct. And
And you voted, John, did-
I'll just make a note on here. In the warrant article section, I do not have the senior center expendable trust, and I think that's the only one that I have to add to that. So this is what's on the website as well, this document and the notes as they appear in here.
Okay.
Have you calculated the impact if that budget figure passes and all the warrant articles?
Yeah, can we get a calculation on
I
that?
know it's frightening.
It's a lot.
No, it is a lot.
So well, we would be looking at a $7.3 million budget, but the way DRA calculates bonds is we would be basically washing the value of the bond during the year that we bond it. So in other words, we would show 4.7 and 2.5 million worth of revenue and 4.7 and 2.5 worth of expense as we.
So next year would be the hit.
So what you would actually see for expense is when the payments come in for the bonds. So I want to say right now we're looking at a $250,000 plus building bond, and the sewer bond I think was just under $200,000. So the combination of those two would be somewhere around 445, 450, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Sewer bond was 2.5.
Well, I'm saying the payment
The
on it.
breakdown and the payment.
Oh, the
The
breakdown.
payment is under 200,000. So the combination of those two, if you take 445,000 divided by $6,207, it'll give you what it is on our tax rate. And so it's considerable.
Can you calculate that, leaving out the bond articles, give us what that impact would be on the tax rate, and then show each of the bond articles independently, because we can add it to it? You following me?
No.
I don't know if anybody else is interested in this information.
6,200 and what?
7.
So she said take out the two bonds.
Take out the two bonds and the warrant articles.
and
Yeah.
one
Okay.
for
Take
other
those
ones.
two out.
Yep.
Then calculate everything else, what that impact would be, and then figure well, we know what each bond would be separately. Right, we have those figures. You've done that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Then the only thing we don't have is the union.
Oh, 250,000 times divided by, this is for the bonds.
Well, there's a calculation that, if you see on the left-hand side down at the bottom of the first page, I have calculated the tax rate on each of those warrant articles other than the senior center expendable trust. So maybe that's what you're looking
6
for?
cents, the 16 cents.
Does
the
that
2
include the
cents?
bonds?
No,
No.
that's without the bond. So if you take those amounts
Okay.
and add it to the $5.89, that's what our local tax rate would be.
Could you do that with the bonds or no?
Yeah, well,
638.
it wouldn't hit in 2020, but I could put it in the note of the bond.
$6.14. And that's an
With the
increase.
bond.
Yeah,
The
so we don't
bonds.
have the expendable trust, but that's only 5,000, that can't be.
It's less than a penny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they would round it,
6.14
DRA would round it
And we
to a
don't
penny.
have the,
2019.
Yeah.
And the collective bargaining.
So 614 is still under 2019, but without the collective
So
bargaining.
if you figure maybe $6.20, factoring in the collective bargaining and the expendable trust. So that's under, let's see, what, let me just pull it.
It's 20, that's still,
It's probably gonna
2019
be-
was 638.
it's probably gonna be $1 million for that.
So, in 2018, our local rate was 744, in 19 it was 638, so we'd still be looking at a reduction from 638 to 620, although
But
very
the
minor one.
valuations are way up.
And that's the problem, is that,
That's why.
you would hope that the rate would be down
Lower.
much more, yeah.
Yeah.
The only way you're really gonna save money in this budget, outside of the warrant articles, is attrition,
Is what?
Attrition.
Attrition, it's people. About 2/3 of this budget is somehow tied to the number of employees we have. At the PD, at town hall, and it's just the way it is, unfortunately. At the PD, you have all sorts of ancillary costs, you have retirement and health, all those sorts of things, but then you also have uniform costs and things that are in the collective bargaining agreement that they're entitled to each year. And there's a certain amount of overtime that goes along with each officer because they have court time and, there's a whole number of things. So, and I'm not trying to be draconian or anything, saying, let a whole bunch of people go so we can save some money, but, and this is really the only issue that the Board of Selectmen can address, because it really comes down to what's an appropriate size group of people to serve this community. And, that's really the question, and how much does that cost? Because we know
In town,
what,
it doesn't seem like we have too many employees, do we?
well, we have, we have,
Where would
We
the
have-
overage be?
Budget committee, we get rid of that.
well, no, but,
The police department, but I think because of our closeness to exit 20, that it's warranted.
yeah, what I'm trying to say is there's not a lot of fluff in here, in this, I'll tell you, there've been years when I've looked at this and thought, oh, that's probably not likely gonna happen or something like that, but, this is pretty lean. And, the majority of it is generated by, our personnel. And that's true for just about any government organization, town, fire, school. You look at most of them, they're gonna be somewhere in the 60 to 65% is all personnel or personnel-related costs.
We have the most expensive police department in the state per capita. Couldn't help it,
Yeah.
had to say it.
Yeah, we studied that.
No, I know, that's, with the reval, which is really
It's a killer.
raising taxes like crazy, I think people are gonna kind of have a little bit of a reaction to any kind of increase. And it's really behooves the town to try to level fund, if anything, not negative fund, when it's impacting a lot of people.
It's
Something the budget
Just my
committee
comment, yeah.
could do.
You would think if they, the revals are like regulated by the state, that there's some cap, like you can't, like if a landlord, you can't raise your rent more than a certain percent on a tenant, why did we get,
I think the issue is
And the
that
reval-
it's called the Amazon effect. Businesses are just not valuable
Yeah.
anymore, brick and mortar. They're going away, that's why they got evaluated less. More and more, people don't want to open a store.
yeah,
They don't wanna
we
run a
got
business.
online stuff.
Yeah,
And that's what it's doing, is
Yeah.
kicking it all back into the residential.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason we had exit 20 was because it was supposed to alleviate residents' taxes, or the,
The liquor
Now
store's
it's
going up quick.
coming back,
Yeah, right.
coming back to bite us now, yeah.
Yeah.
It has been biting us for quite a while.
Yeah.
All right. So on February 5th, we will meet here at 7 o'clock for our public hearing.
Okay.
We're not meeting next week?
No.
Oh God, I'm gonna show up, I know I am.
What?
I'm gonna be sitting here going,
Where is everybody?
is it Wednesday night?
don't you wait for the agenda to come through your email?
What agenda?
You never know, because, so I can't look at town emails at home. And, you know, we're picking up our housing standard inspections, so sometimes I don't see that computer for 5 or 6 days. Then it takes me an hour.
I used to like Marina's reminders because I never,
Right.
to look all the time.
Okay, so we'll go over we'll review any minutes that Gail has available that we haven't. And I'll make sure that they're not the ones we've already reviewed and voted on.
And then Article 4 and
And then
6,
we'll have to do Article 4, so don't forget the sewer public hearing.
January 30th, 5 o'clock.
January 30th, okay? 5 o'clock, is it right here, Catherine?
Yes.
All right, and then we,
Up here, up top, up
it's
here?
here, yeah.
And again, if you want any information from Johanna about that sewer project, should be glad to send it to you.
Yeah.
Any questions at all.
And I talked to Tim, because 2 questions that come up. Is our fund balance, which right now is zilch, and TAN, which he will have after the selectmen's meeting,
Our
so.
reserve fund balance isn't zilch?
No, she's joking.
Oh,
I move we adjourn.
I'll
second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.